My name is Brian Talley. I am a former sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. My story spans about 6 years. So I'm going to do the best I can through a PowerPoint presentation that we have for you guys here. If you guys want to track it as I'm going to kind of read through it a little bit, it'll help you kind of stay on the story. It's a crazy story, and it's something that you'll really need to engage in to kind of completely understand how it all unfolded and what the events were that led up to me taking on Congress and the Department of Veterans Affairs. So as you can see, a little bit of my service. Next slide, please. I was living the American dream. I had started a family when I got out of the Marine Corps. I was a successful entrepreneur. I owned a small landscape company. I'm not college educated. I graduated high school, joined the Marine Corps, and then I started a landscape company. Just a regular guy. Just an all-American, tax-paying, community leader, sports, involved in sports with my kids and gymnastics and everything like that. I was doing everything right, paying my taxes, contributing to society in an honorable way. And that picture right there was one of my last pictures that I had with my family where I looked somewhat decent, lean and mean. Well, I was a little thick, but I was, in pretty good shape. That picture was taken only 1 month before this picture right here. One day, January 2016, I couldn't get out of bed. I had a sudden pain that just led me to my bathroom floor where I was just trying to find a relief from the cold bathroom tiles. I was crying. I was in severe pain. My dog was laying next to me. I couldn't use the bathroom. My bladder was absolutely full. It was very uncomfortable. It was a very, very painful moment in my life. The most painful time of my life that I have ever imagined. That picture right there was my very first trip to the VA ER in Loma Linda, California, which is in Riverside. I'm from San Diego, grew up in San Diego. And then I've also spent half my life in Colorado. So I own my landscape company between San Diego and Denver. I kind of went back and forth, with the snow and all that stuff. Next slide, please. When I went into the VA, my wife escorted me in there in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk, and I was in, like I said, horrifying pain. And when I was saw by the clinicians in the VA ER, what they did was they took an x-ray of my back and they said I was fine. I sprained my back, which was weird because I didn't have an onset of trauma to fully understand why I was in so much pain. So what the VA ER did is they injected me with opioids and, just Kenalog and methocarbamol and Dilaudid, and they sent me home with bags. Literally, I had a bag of pills. Next slide, please. And again, my story spans 6 years, so I'm going to try to get through this as quick as I possibly can for you guys. I ended up back at this VA ER 3 times in that week. Same thing. Double shots of Dilaudid, more Kenalog, more pills. You're fine. Follow up with your primary care physician. There's nothing wrong with you. My 3rd trip to the VA ER, I actually had a panic attack on the ER floor. I was in so much pain. So then they had to come out with anti-anxiety meds and all this other stuff to kind of get me to calm down because I was in so much pain again. Pain, again, you cannot even imagine. You're getting 2 shots of Dilaudid. I'd never had a shot of Dilaudid in my life. I've never had a shot of Kenalog, methocarbamol. I've always been somewhat of a healthy guy. My doctor is the VA. And I typically always had good care at the VA. But in January of 2016, I fell through the cracks. I fell through the cracks in ways that I never have that I never saw coming or ever imagined. That someone like me that was living a great life was going to be entering into a storm unlike anything that my family and I were prepared for. So I had months and months of delayed and denied care, denied blood tests, denied MRIs. My wife didn't know what to do. She was advocating. She was doing everything she possibly could to figure out what was wrong with me. We went to an outside provider. At that time, we're 4 months into this. So for that whole 4 months, I'm living in a chair. I'm peeing in a bucket. I still can't pee. 45 minutes, I'm straddling a bucket to drip out because my bladder stopped working. I mean, just everything has stopped working. I was dying in my chair. I went and had surgery at Scripps San Diego, and the doctor opened me up. He opened my back up. And what he found on the operating table was a surprise because he hadn't seen it before. So what I ended up having is a bone-eating staph infection that was aggressively eating my spine and my internal organs for 4 months. So when the surgeon opened me up, what he did is he called in the infectious disease doctor. Infectious disease comes in and says, yikes, looks like he might have bone cancer or something like that. Let's test this guy for everything under the sun. Let's start taking out some spinal bone tissue. Let's start disconnecting this and cutting this. And before I knew it, this surgery lasted well into the 5-hour mark, and my family's like, what has happened here over these last 4 months? So what ended up happening is, I went and I had IV antibiotics. I went home. We're still trying to figure out how I had this bone-eating staph infection that nearly killed me. The infectious disease doctor said I should have died within about 14 days of me having this infection. It should have went septic and just taken over. But thank God, I'm still here today. And I have made it through my storm to tell this story because it's something that has forever changed my life and for the life of all veterans in this country. After my surgery, I went back to my chair. I was no longer me. I was no longer this happy, outgoing, just solid guy that just was winning at life. And I started battling a lot of anxiety and depression and isolation, and I was in pain. I was still in so much physical pain, emotional pain. And because of this infection lived inside my body for so long, it did a lot of permanent damage inside my spine, my neck, my bladder, kidney. So, I was battling this pain. So what happened was we ended up filing a federal tort claim for medical malpractice and gross negligence causing permanent injury and nearly my death. And we were going to sue the VA. And, for, everything that you see there, for a loss of earnings, by now we're about 1.5 years into my story, okay? I ended up losing my business, my equipment, my work truck, my family vehicle. My wife did everything she could do to stave off financial ruin. And when we filed our tort claim, the VA called me and they said, hey, look, we failed to meet the standard of care. There was a breach in liability. We are settling your claim. You're not going to lose it all. That gave us some hope. That gave us some, okay, look, we're going to be able to get our family vehicle back. I'm not going to go back to being a landscaper because that was, some tough work. But I was a very hands-on guy, so I didn't always do the labor. But still, that's a very, tough job on a body. And 6 months later, after the VA came out and stated to me that they were going to settle my claim, they dropped a bombshell on me. They sent a letter saying that they have now denied all culpability and they have denied my tort claim that they had just stated to me 6 months prior that they were going to go ahead and settle. The Office of General Counsel repeatedly called me. They led me and my family down this garden path, again, stating that everything was going to be okay. You're not going to lose it all. Then the letter stated that they denied it based on a technicality and an employment status because of the doctor that they were going to hold accountable for the injury was a independent contractor and not a VA employee. Now, you got to understand, these independent contractors are full. They are running the VA hospital system. It's a union. Very few VA employees are actually doing the work of taking care of the veterans. A lot of your clinicians and nurses are VA employees, but most of the doctors are all independent contractors. Now, as a veteran, you don't know who these guys are. They have VA badges, they have VA doctor coats on, they have VA business cards. Everything about that clinician states to me that they are an employee of this place. When they sent me that letter, they stated to me, "We're very sorry. It's an independent contractor." And by the way, what they did was very fraudulent and criminal, because how they came to this conclusion is they cherry-picked who the fall guy was going to be in my case. 9 clinicians failed to meet the standard of care. 1 was an independent contractor. They put the blame on her, threw her under the bus, did an about face, and left me and my family holding the bag. Now, the letter also said that I needed to sue this clinician in state court. The day I received my letter, I was 3 days past the California state statute of limitations to bring suit against this independent contractor. So what the VA has cleverly done since 1946 is this loophole that I'm getting ready to explain to you. They bring in independent contractors. They screw up. They cherry pick. They find out who the independent contractor is. They place the blame on them. And then as soon as your state statute of limitations expire, you will typically get a letter stating that you need to sue. Boom, all of a sudden, you are stripped of your legal rights. You are stripped of your right to due process. So now you've been put on your knees due to medical malpractice and gross negligence due to no fault of your own. Now they go for the kill shot with the legal malpractice. So what do? I'm done. I go back to my chair, and I was just crying every single day, and I was a very tough man. But this had humbled me in ways, again, that I could have never seen coming or ever imagined, because my life had been forever changed. Living in pain, living in just agony. I went to my congressman, and I said, there's some really bad stuff going on in the VA. And what they did to me is criminal, and it's fraudulent, and it should never, ever, ever happen again. So I went to Congressman Duncan Hunter, and he became engaged. He's a former Marine, combat veteran, and he says, "Oh yeah, this is horrible. I'm going to write some letters, and we're going to get to the bottom of this." 2 weeks later, he's indicted on federal charges. So now I lost my congressman. So now I have no voice. Medical malpractice, permanent injuries, nearly my death, on the verge of losing everything. No voice in Washington. So I let that simmer for a couple months, and I couldn't live with myself in my chair anymore. 40 pills a day for several years. And my life was that chair. My life, as I knew it, was over. And part of me died in January of 2016 that I didn't even seem to even kind of get back until about 2021. So, from my chair, and with the little bit of education that I had, with my entrepreneurial mindset, I was a good landscaper and I was a good Marine and I knew how to communicate with folks. So what I did is I put that all to work. And I said, if I'm not going to have a voice in Washington, I'm going to create my own. I'm going to create a grassroots effort, and I will draft my own bill, and I will send it out to 300 members of Congress. So I did just that. I heard back from 0 members of Congress. That many right there. So I went to my wife. We didn't have many credit cards left because here we were, several years into this, debt. Just everything was going wrong. And then here I am. I need $800. I'm going to D.C. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. I've got a bill to deliver. And so we put it on a credit card. I took a red eye to D.C. in pain. I filled up my pockets full of pain pills and anxiety meds, and I hand delivered the bill that I drafted in legislative congressional form to the very steps of the Capitol building, to these folks that are sworn to protect us and our legal rights as Americans. I walked the halls of Congress going door to door, urging lawmakers to change this outdated law that has destroyed the lives of veterans and their families for generations. I saw several members of Congress on this one-week trip. Within 30 days, this broken Marine landscaper who has been through the ringer and thrown to the wolves, right there, absolutely just thrown to the wolves, had a bill introduced in Congress, H.R. 7105, 115th Congress, Congressman Dave Bratt, Tea Party guy. That bill would die in Congress because he put the bill in late in the 150th Congress. So in January of that next Congress, I showed back up to D.C. again for a second time. Pain pills, anxiety meds, and now I had H.R. 7105 in hand, and I had my original bill in hand. I went door to door, urging lawmakers to change this outdated law, again, that has destroyed the lives of veterans and their families for generations, and this legal loophole has got to end. It's criminal, it's fraudulent, and this should not be happening to anybody, let alone veterans. And to the very people that are sworn to protect us in these VA hospitals, in the Office of General Counsel, and everything that it may be. So I ended up getting another champion, Mark Meadows, Congressman Mark Meadows, North Carolina, who would end up becoming the chief of staff of President Trump. Now my bill gets political because nobody wants to sign on to the bill because they all hate Mark Meadows. So here I was now. I am in shark-infested waters in Washington, D.C. as a Marine landscaper that's broken, that's trying to stand up for 20.2 million American veterans. So, oh yeah, that was me right there. Look at that. And I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to take a lot of, I know that there's time constraints here, but I'm going to talk, and if you guys need to leave, I totally understand that. And sometimes I get brain fog from all the pills I've been on and stuff like that too. Plus, it gets a little emotional. Mark Meadows introduced the bill, my second bill in Congress, and it became political. And I had to earn a seat at the table on the Democrat side. I had all the Republican support in the House, and once I had a seat at the table on the Democrat side, I never got up from my seat until my mission was complete. I met with about 30 lawmakers, Democrats, and I urged them to sign on to the Mark Meadows bill. They would not. However, they said, we're going to create our own bill. So then I had my third bill introduced in Congress in my name that I wrote, H.R. 4526. So now I have a Republican bill and I have a Democrat bill, and I'm in every news headline in America. They're like, dude, this grassroots medical malpractice VA Marine landscaper who's on the verge of losing it all is in Washington. He's playing the role of his own congressman because he doesn't have one. The only district in the United States of America that doesn't have a sitting member of Congress, and it stayed that way for 2 years because Gavin Newsom would not run a special election because that was a Republican seat in California, one of the very few. So Now I had a new bill introduced. I took the Democrat bill and I went back to the Republican side. Again, I had to effectively communicate with members of Congress. I had to stay one step ahead of them. I had to, this was a game of chess. I had to adapt, I had to improvise, and I had to overcome. And I learned that in the Marine Corps. And it's a BAMSIS. It's a begin plan, arrange plan, make the plan, complete the plan, issue orders, and supervise. The same stuff I did as a Marine, I am now doing as my own member of Congress to do their job that they have been elected to do, that they have let down the American people. And they have let down every veteran in this country. So I took that bill. I had a VA hearing. You can keep going. It's me walking the halls of Congress right there. Some of my meetings. First bill. Then that's when things started to really heat up. I had turned my office into a legislative war room. All my landscape stuff was out, and it was all Congress stuff. Every business card, every meeting minute that I ever attended, and who I spoke to, and what I said, and what the details were of everything. I kept a log because I was going after made men. I'm exposing something that the VA has saved billions of dollars on. I was scared. I was scared. It took a lot of courage for me to do this because, at the time, you're taking all these pills and everything, and your mind starts playing tricks on you. Like, is it like the movies? Are they going to come kill me? Just because I'm trying to do the right thing. And these were all thoughts in my head. And again, I was scared to death. Next slide, please. There's the Democrat bill right there, H.R. 4526, Congressman Mike Levin from Southern California, another big champion of the tally bill. Next slide. Third trip, I headed back to Washington, D.C. Now I had their attention. 3 bills introduced in Congress in less than 1 year. 2 different Congresses. Now I'm being pulled over there to do those Washington, D.C. congressional interviews. And look at me. Don't I look like a congressman? But I don't want to be a congressman. Absolutely not. That was never my intention. I had to fit in with those men, though, and those women on the Hill. Because I had a job to do, and I had a goal and a mission in mind. And the only way I could do that with 0 lobbying dollars. Now, you can understand, I'm not a lobbyist, but I learned how to be one. I'm not an advocate. I have no education in any of this stuff. Just brought a regular Joe to the table. And once I had my seat at the table, again, I never gave up my seat until my mission was complete. All the work I've put in, I get a hearing. Great. I'm like, the highs and lows of this, unreal. Because this job didn't come with a paycheck. I'm doing this for the good of the country. For the good of the country. The highs, the lows. My paycheck was when I had a bill introduced in Congress on the House floor. My paycheck was when I had a co-sponsor. My paycheck was getting stuff like that. Hearings. And then all of a sudden, boom, another brick wall in my face. I'm done. I'm like, okay. They canceled my hearing. Everything was going against me. Impeachments, House impeachments, Senate impeachments, coronavirus. Next slide. Then this. I could not keep up. My endurance was shot. I mean, literally, you can't make this stuff up. So what did I do? I told my wife and kids, I'm going to go on the road. And that's when I started to get 1% better every single day and changed my life. When COVID hit, it actually saved my life. Because I had spent the last 4 years living in my room, self-isolating, living in my chair, where my kids hung out with me. And my family, I love my family more than anything in this entire world. And we never broke. unscathed, unscratched. Been married 24 years, have 4 beautiful children, and unfortunately, they've grew up with their dad in this VA process of bureaucracy and government failure. I went on something that I created called the Tally Bill Roadshow. And when everybody was going inside, I got up and I went outside. I was doing the complete opposite. I went and I toured 8 states in 7 days. In every single congressional district in my path, I stopped. I knocked on their door. Oh, we can't open the door because of COVID. It's okay. Come to the door. I got something for you, and I got a bill. I need you to sign on to this bill. Tell your congressman to sign on to this bill. Okay, cool. I toured VFWs, American Legions, AMVET halls. I talked to retirees, World War II veterans, Vietnam veterans, Iraq, Afghanistan, all these wars that our brave and honorable men and women have fought for years, generations. And they started to get behind me. And so that road trip was great. And it was the first time in 4 years I'd gotten out on the open road, and it felt great. And I was like, wow, this is kind of like therapeutic. I had a lot. I was thinking, and everybody was going nuts, and all this chaos was going on around me. But I felt great. You know, it was just one of those life moments that you really have to experience for yourself to really understand, like, wow, like, what am I going through here? Because of that roadshow, I ended up getting like another 20 co-sponsors, and then 5 months later, we had the hearing. But now I couldn't go in person. It was all online. So I read my congressional statement that went into the congressional record, and it went very well. It passed like that in the House VA committee. The only person that was opposed to it was the VA. So once I passed the House, I remember when, because I've been to D.C. now 4 times, soon to be my 5th, and I had made really good friends with a couple of senators because I knew that was going to be my next step. Again, I was playing chess with these guys because I had to strategize every single move because I knew the play before it happened. I knew the play before it happened. So as soon as I passed the House, I went over to Tillis's office and I went over to Blumenthal's office and I said, guys, look, I've got a meeting with their professional staffers, professional attorneys who write and draft bills. And I said, we got this bill ready to go right now. I need a Senate companion. Time is running out and everything is going on around us. If we don't get this bill passed right now, we won't. And I said, I'm getting tired. I've been lobbying and at this now for years. I just want to get back to my life and start healing. And they said, okay. They took it to the Senate and it passed. In a late night session, I got a call at midnight. In November of 2020. And then it would end up going to the president's desk. See, I like that picture right there because I had to put all these pieces together. Again, I had to play the adult in the room and bring Congress together. In the most divided Congress in the history of our nation. Liberals, Democrats, conservatives, Republicans. It's really all the same. I have seen egregious and horrible stuff in D.C. It's horrible how things are ran there. And for a guy like me to stand up again with zero, just experience, just real life value, just real life experience, to have a seat at that table and never give up my seat because I knew how to speak to them, because I kept my calm. I talked in third person because I never wanted for them to say, oh, this guy's coming in here and he's unruly. No, because I wasn't working for myself. I was working, again, for the 9.5 million American veterans that are currently enrolled in the Department of Veterans Affairs for medical health care, plus an additional 10.5 million that aren't in it yet. But still, there's 20.2 million American veterans that I was initially, that I was fighting for. And I couldn't go in there with any political. I went in there completely nonpartisan. I'm in there, and I'm, identifying with everybody, with every walk of life. And then on January 5th of 2021, President Trump signed my bill into law. And that was a very good day for me. I was supposed to... And I was supposed to go on January 8th to go meet him. And all that stuff fell through with everything that was going on in the country. So again, it was another brick wall. And the cool thing about my story is I never stopped. I never quit. I definitely bend, right? But I didn't break. 4 bills, 2 years, 2 Congresses, both chambers, mission accomplished. When I had set out on this mission, I had one goal in mind. I was going to turn a negative into a positive and create the necessary positive change that was needed to protect 20 million American veterans. I did it. Mission accomplished. And now I get a chance to tell my story. I wrote a book, and this is I think it's my 8th time speaking since September of last year, beginning to tell my story of resilience and perseverance and strength through determination and hope. Again, inspire, right? My kids were watching me. I couldn't quit. My kids were watching me, so I wanted them to be proud of me again, because I was always the provider of my family. And when all this stuff happened, I lost my identity. I lost who I was. So I had to recreate myself. And that's who I did it for, is right there. Thank you guys for being here today. I appreciate it.
Tell you what, Brian, it's amazing that your story is something that I think everybody can take something and apply it to their own life and to their own situation somehow, some way. Well, as business owners, as Americans, as you see things happen, if you sit back and don't say anything or don't do anything, they're just going to keep rolling over you. It takes men like this to stand up for what they believe in, to honor our military, but also you did it not just for the 20.2 million veterans, but also every American in this country can be inspired by you and what you just tells them, I have a voice. And you're an American. You can stand up and have a voice. And whether you want to do it or not, I'll say part of the Chamber of Commerce, we advocate for you with these guys. We go to the state level, we go to the federal level, and we have people there that lobby on behalf of your businesses. And we hit brick walls, just like you hit. And I can say I'm totally inspired. I love what I do at the Chamber, and you've even given me more to say it's possible. Nothing's impossible. I'm going to give you a hug, man. You're awesome. God bless you. And hang on. Why don't you go? We got some Big Stick bourbon made by a Marine in my office. You want to come by and fill that up? Come on by. We'd love to have you, but thank you very much. He's going to be out. You're going to be out front with your book, and he'll talk to you and give out a few autographs, I think. So thank you very much, very much. Appreciate you. Stick around. All right. God bless. Brian Talley, everybody.